Can you guys hear me okay? If you guys can comment and let me know if you guys can hear me. Awesome. Wow, it has been what, forever and a half since I've gone live on the group. Wow, awesome. So glad to be back online. Ah, all right, I'm gonna wait a few more minutes for a few more people to join in. Maybe like 2 more minutes, and then I'm gonna go ahead and start. You know, I really wanted to do this class via Zoom so I could properly record it and have a different background, but I have to try to figure out a different time to try to play with the settings and figure it out. So, meantime, I'm here. Okay. Hey, Shoshana, how are you? All right. Whew. Is Miriam on here? Yeah, she is. Okay. Thank you all for tuning in to today's, I guess you could say, class on a paranormal, supernatural questions and answers. Okay, so there were a couple of questions that people asked me, and there were a couple of questions that I bumped into with myself. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna first of all start with my first question that was asked was deja vu. What is deja vu? Where does it come from? And I called this question Deja Vu Debunked. So we all know what deja vu is, right? When we know for a fact we've seen this before, we've been through this before, but we actually haven't. So where do we know all the information? Why does everything look so familiar? Why does everything feel so familiar, even in your bones? So deja vu is basically before a neshama comes down to earth, he sees a video, the neshama sees a video of its life that it's deciding to take. So with this video that this neshama is looking at, it's checking out all of the possibilities, which family he will accomplish the most tikkun in. And he sees major parts, major aspects of that life. Whether if it's decisions, whether if it's certain arguments that are supposed to turn out a certain way. So once the neshama chooses that life and the person is born and the person ends up in that same situation that he saw when he was up in Shamayim, that instant is called the deja vu. So it's not that it's in this lifetime you experienced it and it feels familiar and you know you did this. It's not that you did it. Your neshama saw you doing the exact same thing before it came down to earth. Same thing when someone you see that you don't know looks very familiar. This person that feels very familiar, even though you don't know them at all whatsoever, you saw them before you came down to earth. Now, either it's supposed to trigger a memory, it's supposed to trigger some kind of, what am I supposed to do with this type of question? And sometimes it's supposed to have a relationship or a connection, or sometimes it's supposed to be a stay away type of thing. So everything that a human being sees or imagines or feels like they've seen this before or been here before, you need to understand that the neshama does not have any constriction with space and time. Our neshamas go back to long ago. Probably from when Hashem first decided to create the universe and the world and everything else. So there was a lecture that I heard from Rabbi Eliyahu. This was more than 20 years ago. He said, everything that a human being can possibly imagine, all of the creativity, everything that can enter a human being's brain didn't come from nowhere. A human being isn't capable of bringing up an imaginary concept, something from nothing. The neshama must have seen this concept, must have seen this image, must have seen this whatever it is at some point from when it was created. And I found that very, very, very fascinating. Okay, one second, there's a question here. What if you dreamt it and then it happens as such? Yeah, there are people that have foresight. There are people that are born with foresight, that they dream of things happening and they happen. I'm one of them. One of my massive dreams that came about. I don't know if it's popular, but I mentioned this to quite a number of people and I actually went public about it. But back in early December of 2019, I dreamt of everything that was going on, from the Australia fires to the panic before Corona, the Corona breakout, the flights being grounded, no in and outs, all of the wars. I saw all of that happen back in early December of 2019. And the Australian fires started 2 weeks right after. And everything else, like dominoes effect, one right after another, one right after another. And there's only, I would say, one thing that has not yet come about, which was the big war. I do feel like the War of the Brothers that I saw back in 2019 already came out, because I feel like War of the Brothers is civilians versus civilians and everyone is just at each other's throats and necks. But who knows? It might be something else completely different. It might be government versus people. That I don't know for sure yet, but those are the things that have not yet come about from the dream that I had back in 2019. So it's very possible that people can be born with foresight. Another question I'm going to address. Okay. So Miriam is asking, wait, so your soul sees what we will do? Yes, our souls see everything that we will do, all the decisions that we're going to make, all of the possibilities that we're going to have. And it's our, I guess you could say, our responsibility to try to make the right choices at the right time. Now, when it comes to right choices at right time, people might say, oh my gosh, I made such a bad choice doing X, Y, and Z. You might feel that it's a bad choice at that present moment in time. But reality is that bad choice developed you into a stronger person than you were prior to it. Does that make sense? Do our souls pick our lives? Yes. Our neshamas pick our lives. It's written in the Zohar. And by the way, I just wanted to give everybody a heads up. All of the information that I provide forth when it comes to the paranormal and the supernatural, okay, I read from my books. I have certain books that pertain to the topics of the paranormal and the supernatural. One of them is Derech Hashem. The other one is called Magic, Mysteries, and Mysticism. And another thing, I listen to a lot of lectures, even though they are in Hebrew. But the rabbis that I listen to regarding this topic is Rabbi Meir Eliyahu, Rabbi Zamir Cohen, Rabbi Ronen Shaulov, and Rabbi Alon Anava. Those are the rabbis that I listen to. Most of the time I take notes, sometimes I don't, but every information that I get that's deep or that's quoted in the Zohar, that's quoted in the Gemara, I didn't write down those exact sources, but the information that I get is from those rabbis that I listen to. So those are my sources. All right, hold on one second. Let me catch up on a couple of questions. All right, Miriam was asking, wouldn't dreams be more vision-based? There's a bit of a difference between having premonitional dreams and visions. Premonitional dreams is literally when you're dreaming, when you're sleeping at night. And usually those types of dreams happen during the REM stages of sleep, which takes place anywhere between within the 3-hour time space of before you wake up. Visions can happen during the day. Now, when a vision happens to someone that has foresight, usually what happens is space and time around them is at a standstill. And this happened to me too, also, right before the elections, when I knew the Dems were going to have the upper hand. Everything around you just stands still. You're paused. It feels like forever and a half, but in reality, it's a split second. And you see this quick video of what's to come. All right, Maggie is asking, if we know the choices we made, why are we here? So the answer to that is so we can actually make the right choices and improve our neshama. Okay, let's see what else. Hold on. Can you share these books? Yes, give me 1 second. Let me go get them real quick. All right, so Maggie, to answer your questions on the type of books that I read to get my sources, this is one of them. It's called Derech Hashem, The Way of God. I have the small one. There's a big one too. And then there's this book called Magic, Mysteries, and Mysticism by Rabbi Mordechai Zev Frank. And I'm not sure if you're all aware, there's also many other rabbis that are very familiar with the paranormal. One of them is Rabbi Pinchas Taylor. He's from Plantation, Florida. Rabbi Alon Anava. But let's get back to some questions here. Okay, hold on 1 second. Yeah, deja vu happens when you're awake. Okay, why can't I see all the chat? Okay, here we go. Deja vu happens when you're awake. Yes, it does happen when you're awake. Francine is asking, so you see the vision in living color? Yes. Visions are in color. And sometimes with me, sometimes with visions, they're like puzzle pieces. Sometimes it's like symbolic. For example, when I had my massive premonition back in 2019, when it comes to the whole toilet paper frenzy that was going on, I didn't see that there was a lack of toilet paper. What I saw was people rushing to stores, panicking, and there was just complete and utter chaos. I just saw people panicking and running all over the place, trying to stock up on something. I didn't see what that something was. You know, when they closed the airports and whatnot, I didn't know that there was going to be a pandemic. but I saw that there was chaos. I saw that planes literally were on the ground, and I heard no flights in and out, borders are closed. I just saw an image of planes on the ground. No one's leaving. No one goes anywhere. So sometimes it could be very direct, and sometimes it's, with symbols. Now, moving on to, how our neshama sees things. Just like we see a movie right before we come down to earth, we also see the movie of our life when we leave. And I'm going to get to that in a big second. Not in a second, but a little bit later on. Because there's other topics I want to talk about. Okay, Francine was asking, do you hear messages too? Yes. For me, it's both visual and audio. Another topic I wanted to touch up on is the craziness of energetic shifts, the veil thinning out, and those that are gifted with eyesight, meaning like those that can see neshamas that have passed on. I'm going to talk about the veil thinning. And what exactly does that mean? Okay, I would probably say about 5-6 years ago, things were pretty much, calm in the realm of, where spirits are located. Since everything is so hectic down here, and human beings themselves, they're going nuts. They're going absolutely nuts with everything that's going on. Even though the next world is the Lama Emet, there's no such thing as a neshama doesn't know the truth. But there's an area in the afterworld where neshamas are pretty much lost. And in Hebrew, that's called kafakela. Kafakela is called purgatory in English. Now, those that are in purgatory are pretty much stuck. They're stuck in between worlds. Hell won't take them. Heaven won't take them. And they can't come back to earth. So they are pretty close to all this craziness, just as us humans. And we feel Mashiach. We feel all the crazy times. We feel all these energetic shifts. Imagine that they feel it way more than us, and they can't do anything about it. That's pretty much torture for them. That's pretty much torture for them. I used to be able to see a neshama maybe once in a while. Not a big deal. Now, I'm not kidding. I could see more than 10 a day. I don't pay attention to them. Just because having this gift, it's not so easy to handle. It's like if you unlock the door, they're just gonna, push it open. But they are just as panicked as we are because they can't do anything about it. All right, give me a second. Let me address the question. Maggie's asking, how do you know it's really audio, or is it something you want to hear? So it's not a soul, but rather your subconscious. Okay. When it comes to hearing the audio, it's very similar of when you're talking to yourself in your head. But when I'm hearing this audio, whether if it's like planes are being grounded or, whatever, it is not in my voice. It is in a different voice. And it's not something that I have an opinion on. It's just, I don't even know it's very hard to explain. It's literally as if someone is talking in my ear. Francine is asking, why are neshamas stuck there? Well, that's what purgatory is for. They have done things in their life that made them stuck. There are certain sins that a person does. It's different for Jews and it's different for non-Jews. But there are things that a person does that makes themselves stuck in purgatory. Another thing that makes them stuck in purgatory is when they have the option to continue forth and continue with their cleansing journey when they're in the next realm and they decide to stick around with their family, gets them stuck. And she's also asking, do you choose who you want to communicate with when they are around? I actually prefer not to communicate. And the reason being it's because if I communicate with one, many are going to try to communicate and it's just going to bombard me and just no. I'm very, I've been able to pick up on them, sense them, feel them, see them, hear them ever since I was a little kid. And my Rebbe, who I'm very close with, told me to try to ignore them as much as possible. So I try my best not to talk with them. The only time I have a conversation with any kind of a neshama is if it's a neshama that I know, that I'm close with, like my grandmother, Zichron Livacha, or my second mom. But that's it. I don't open that door. Opening that door is like giving permission for the dam to break. Okay, let's see what other questions there are. All right, so Miriam is asking, when souls choose to be around family, yeah. Souls can get stuck when they choose to stay around family because they have the option to move forward and they're choosing not to. I'm not sure if that happens with the Jewish neshamas, but I know that that's what happens with the non-Jewish neshamas. Francine, do you put a protection around you from them? All the time. All the time. I protect myself all day, every day. It's even in the morning blessings. But yeah, they are very panicked. I'm not sure if you guys... no, I mean, it's not really a good source to point out. But anyways, yeah, the veil is thinning out because Mashiach is coming really, 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 really close. And once Mashiach is revealed, there's going to be peace, not just in this world, there's going to be peace in the afterworld as well. So do you use a specific prayer for protection? The specific prayers that I use are all located in the morning blessings. It covers absolutely every aspect. When it comes to Ein Hara, when it comes to people with bad energies, when it comes to things with bad energies, all of that is located in the morning blessings. Miriam is asking, why would they be panicked? Don't they know more about the truth than we know? Yeah, they do know more about the truth, but for the fact that they're stuck and they can't cleanse themselves, it freaks them out. Because they're stuck. Okay, she's asking also, when Mashiach comes, there will be peace in hell and purgatory. I have not heard that there will be a hell or purgatory when Mashiach arrives. But from all of the lectures that I have heard, every single rabbi that talks about the end of days and Mashiach and Tchiat HaMetim, they have all said that the spiritual world and the physical world become one, and this one world becomes peaceful. There's no bad, there's no evil. So I'm not saying for sure, but I am assuming that hell and purgatory will probably be out of business. Ones that are in purgatory might not stick around for the times of after Mashiach. There are times, and I've heard this from Rabbi Eliyahu Keen. He had a lecture about souls. He said sometimes, you know how I mentioned earlier that there's certain souls, there's certain people that do certain sins that they get purgatory for? Well, there are certain sins, really, really, really hard sins, that a person can actually dissipate his soul. So the moment he passes away, his soul ceases to exist. It's not in purgatory, not in hell, not in heaven. It ceases to exist. I don't think that's very common. I think it's pretty rare. But I believe I heard in one of the lectures of Rabbi Meir Eliyahu, those that know the heavy consequence of cremation and choose to get cremated anyways, I'm referring to Jews, their neshama gets dissipated. Anyone have any other questions regarding the veil right now? Okay. Miriam was asking, when Mashiach comes, there will be peace in hell and purgatory. From what I understood, hell and purgatory won't exist after Mashiach. Why is it such a heavy price for being cremated? Think about it. Hashem created a human body, and he stated, from dust you came, to dust you shall return. When a person chooses to get cremated, what is he showing Hashem? He's showing Hashem, what you say doesn't matter, I know better than you. Do you think Hashem tolerates that? And remember, cremation does not apply to those who had no choice with cremation. There have been cases, Holocaust, for example, those that, were in the ovens. They don't have that punishment. It's not their fault. It was not in their control. Every single neshama that passed away in the Holocaust, or passed away because they're Jewish, or passed away because they're in Eretz Yisrael, every single one of those deaths is considered Kiddush Hashem. And Kiddush Hashem is the highest level. It sends your neshama straight to Kisei HaKavod. It sends your neshama straight next to God. Okay, I've also heard of cases where people in the community have passed away, and the family members decided, I'm going to cremate this person's body. It's not on this person's will. This person wanted to be buried. But the family members chose, we're going to cremate. That neshama is not going to get punished. They get punished for cremation if they are very well aware of it. They're aware of the punishment. They're aware of the severity of the sin, and they choose to do it anyways. Francine was asking, it was not their choice to be cremated. That's right. It wasn't their choice. Things that are not our choice, we do not get punished for. Hashem is literally all merciful. Obviously, yes, there's a black and the white, but he is all merciful. He gives every single person, from Jews to non-Jews, chance after chance after chance after chance after chance after chance after chance. He says even a complete rasha, a complete evil person, will have the opportunity to return to Hashem on his deathbed. He even gives the rasha, an evil person, that option. Okay, Goldie, speaking of those who got cremated, chas v'shalom, I learned that Lut's bone doesn't get destroyed, but maybe only in the soil. Only in the soil. Yeah, the bone that's in back of the neck, that's also the bone that's going to be used for the resurrection of the dead. Okay, Adina's asking, but how will they be able to come up during Tchiyat HaMeitim? The ones that are cremated? For the ones that were cremated, and it comes to Tchiyat HaMeitim, if it was cremation that was not on their choice, Hashem recreates the last body that they were in. And then they experience Tchiyat HaMeitim. Francine is asking, the people that choose someone to be cremated, are they going to be punished? Yes, they will be punished severely. Do you think God gave Russia a second chance like Hitler and Stalin? Possibly. Hashem gives everybody chances. It is, I think it's in the Gemara. I'm not sure which rabbi has said this, but I gave you my list of rabbis that I listened to. Even a Russia on the deathbed will have the opportunity to make amends and change his ways. Okay, Maggie is asking, are we always reincarnated with the same souls? That's a very interesting topic. Okay, so I'm going to get into it like this. The soul has 5 levels. Okay? Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya, and Yechida. Okay? Chaya and Yechida are always tagged with Shamayim. These 3, which is Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, is what we have in our bodies. Now, with each one of these levels, okay, in the Nefesh aspect, there's the 5 levels of Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya, and Yechida. Now, in order to complete our tikkunim, we get sparks of neshamas. So it could be that not in the entirety of the soul, but it could be that we have a piece of our soul from a previous life. It could be that we have a different soul as a part of, not like a whole soul in its entirety, but a spark, just to do like a small tikkun, a small fixing. It's just like, for example, with reincarnations, it's different bodies. Okay. Adam HaRishon, like every single human being on earth, every single human being, all of the males stem from Adam HaRishon. All of the females stem from Chava. But we're all in different bodies. So how could that be? So this is where I'm explaining that neshamas are sparks, and the sparks are levels. Did that make sense? Did I answer your question? Okay. So Miriam was also mentioning, Rabbi Alon Anava said our bodies will be a combo of various lives, such as one life you used your hands for mitzvot, the other body or life you used your lips for good speech. You will have that combo of each body, part in one body. Correct. Yep. Okay, Miriam is asking, what is the difference between soul family and twin flame? Okay, so can you explain what you mean by soul family? Miriam, can you explain what you meant by soul family? Okay, maybe she's writing down. Okay, soul family, as in you have a group of more or less the same souls that you come across throughout the lifetimes. You may have soul contracts with them. Okay. So you remember how I mentioned that every neshama has different levels and every level has their sparks? So basically, soul family is other neshamas that you're interacting with. Twin flame is you and this person having the same spark of either nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, or yechida. Coming from the same categories, coming from the same source. When it comes to soul contracts, I'm being really honest with you. I know many have, shared this concept. I have not heard of that concept in any of the lectures I have listened to. It could be that it's considered a certain tikkun, a certain fixing, but they didn't call it contract. The only soul contract that I'm aware of is right before a person is born, Bat Kol, a voice of heaven, calls out who that person should be marrying. Okay, she's also asking, so twin flame is more like sharing the same spark from the same puzzle. So we share part of the same soul. So what's the difference between that and a soulmate? Big difference. A soulmate doesn't have to be part of your neshama. And a soulmate is a person that helps you achieve your maximum tikkun being married, which makes you guys a whole. But if we have a soul contract before we come down to, okay, if we marry the wrong person, are we breaking the soul contract? Well, we don't know if we marry the wrong person or not until afterwards. It's not really called breaking the contract. It could be when a person ends up marrying the wrong person, it's because that there isn't enough merits on one or both of the sides, which caused to lose the original soulmate. So even with divorce, with every person, every time a person gets married, let's say you're starting the marriage at this, spiritual level, right? You get married, you go on with life, something happens, you get divorced, okay? This divorce causes you to grow this much. Maybe your original soulmate is here, the original soulmate. So you have to go through these obstacles to raise your spirituality level to be in sync with your soulmate so you can marry. Now, when people get divorced and they don't remarry, there's two possible things. One, the person that they were married to in the beginning was the original soulmate, or two, the original soulmate lost its merit to be married to you. Okay, so also asking, is it possible that there is a learning curve if someone marries the wrong person? Yes, of course it's possible. When someone marries the wrong person, I would probably say 9.5 out of 10 times a person grows and learns from their mistakes and becomes a better person, and usually attracts something better. All right, you're saying the majority of the world don't really have the merit to be. So you're saying the majority of the world don't really have the merit to be with a soulmate, etc. The world needs so much self-work. Yeah, the plague of divorce that's going on in today's generation is absolutely insane. I'm not sure if I'm going to go into depth with this because many people are not going to like what I have to say about the topic. So I'm going to keep my opinion on that specific topic to myself. You can feel free to ask me personally, but I'm not going to get into that. All right, so Miriam is asking, how can an original soulmate lose merit to be with you? Many reasons. Sins, not having, not doing enough mitzvot, not investing in themselves for them to grow spiritually so they could be at your level, or vice versa. Everyone has a choice. When the moment we come into human form, we have choices. And with every choice we act on, there's either prizes or consequences. And that's how God created us. We have free will, even though we know the type of free will that's in front of us. We know, we saw, in the movie before we came down, we're going to have a hard decision with this. And if we choose this, then it's going to be that. If we choose this, it's going to be that. If we choose this, it's going to be that, right? The fork in the road. But when we're in human form and we get to that fork, we still have these three choices. We go here, the neshama knows what's going to happen. The neshama knows what's going to happen. The neshama knows what's going to happen. But there's still these three choices. Which one we're going to choose is up to that person that very moment in time. Did that answer your question? Okay. You're welcome. Another interesting topic I want to get to, because honestly, this thing is a culprit of a lot of our problems. She who must not be named. I'm not going to spell out the name, but she is known as the demon of darkness. I know I mentioned her before. I put up, I think, a lecture of the rabbi that spoke about it, and I translated it to English into this group. I can search for it, pull it up, bump it so you guys can read the translation. But let's talk about her just for a tad and why she's the culprit to a lot of our problems. In the book of Genesis, in the book of Bereshit, it states, Hashem created them male and female. It's referring to one physical entity, male and female. And he split between the two. After that, it says, and Hashem put Adam to sleep, And he took a rib and created Chava. So in Bereshit, there's the creation of Adam as a whole with a female that gets split. Ki lo tov liot adam levado. It's not good for a man to be by himself. Okay? There we understand Adam has a wife. But then again, it says Adam was put to sleep. Hashem takes a rib and creates Chava from his rib. So who's the first one? And the reason why many sources don't elaborate this on much, it's because every time she gets mentioned, you draw her energy in. Now I'm just going to give a little summarization of who she is. She felt that she was just as good as Adam. Didn't need Adam. So she goes and she does her own thing. When she goes and she did her own thing, that is when Hashem put Adam to sleep, took the rib and created Chava. When she saw Chava, she screamed and cried to Hashem. Now Hashem felt bad in a way. I don't know if he felt bad. I don't know if it was right for me to say that, but her tears, her wailing, her crying, the Zohar states, became her power. Now, how did she become so powerful? So this is the story of how she ended up being the big boss of the downstairs. When it was the time of Noah, and again, I heard this from my classes that talk about these kind of subjects. Yes, the lectures are in Hebrew. I gave you the list of names of the rabbis that I listened to. So if you understand Hebrew, feel free to search their lectures and I guess you could say fact check me if you want. During the flood, when it was time for all of the animals, all of the creatures to get on board, there was one creature that wanted to go on board, but he didn't have a partner. Noach turned him away because he didn't have a partner. This creature was the Samech Mem. And the Samech Mem knew of she who must not be named. So story goes, or lore goes, that the Samech Mem goes up to her and says, come with me on Noach's boat. And she said, what will you give me in return? He said, all of downstairs is yours. She said, deal. They go back to the ark. Noah saw that he had a partner and lent the bond. Because the world needed to exist even after the flood with the Samech Mem. Death wasn't going to get eradicated from the earth. The Yetzer Hara wasn't going to get eradicated from the earth. He needed to survive somehow. And that was his way. So he gave her the power of downstairs. Miriam is like, wait, she's the queen of... Yup, she's the Rowena of downstairs. but they are on a spiritual level. So how did they need to be on the boat? Because everything got eradicated during the flood. Everything got created anew. They're spiritual. In this book, in Derech Hashem, let me see if I could find the chapter. Hold on. 1 second. They're spiritual. It says that they're spiritual, but they're close to human form. Give me 1 second. Let me find it for you, and I'm going to read it for you. I think it's part 3, verse 5, maybe. Wait a second. No. 1 second. Sorry, hold on. I'm just looking for... No, let me make a note. Okay. Let me just look through the chapters real quick. Hold on. Give me a second. Bear with me. Okay, hold on. Maybe it's under spiritual realm. Spiritual forces. Okay. Not bad. Okay. I think I found it. So it is actually in Fundamentals, which is part 1, chapter 5, and it's under the class of Shadim, demons. There is, however, another class that is like an intermediate between the spiritual and the physical. This consists of entities that cannot be detected by physical means and are not bound by the limitations and laws of ordinary detectable matter. For this reason, they might improperly be considered spiritual. Their essence, however, is very different from that of angelic class, even though they may resemble them in some ways. These entities also have specific attributes and unique limitations based on their true nature. They are therefore considered a separate class, namely that of demons. This class also contains certain individual types, where each type may be considered a separate species belonging to the general class of Shindalids, demonic. So this goes into a lot of depths regarding the levels and the souls. I hope that answers your question. So yeah, they are spiritual, but they can take human form. Did that answer your question? Okay, awesome. I'm glad I was able to point out the source. I'm really happy for that. So why did I mention she who must not be named? Because most of our suffering stems from her picking on our neshama. And why would she do that? Because we wail and cry and complain and complain and complain about things that go wrong in our life. Whenever a complaint comes out of our mouth, that's literally putting spiritual coins in her box that gives her permission to do us damage. Now, it might not be her directly, but like I said, she's the big boss downstairs. She gives the orders to the Samech Mem. So we need to be very careful, and we have to do our best not to complain, not to take advantage of things, not to... It's hard. It's hard. We're only human. We're not angels. If we were meant to be angels, Hashem would created us as such. But it's hard. But the more we work on it, the more we work on it, and the more we work on it, the easier it becomes for us to overcome it. Now, since we're talking a little bit of supernatural creatures, there's a few other supernatural creatures that I would like to touch up on. Many of us know what a unicorn is, right? Those beautiful little horses with a pew and like a rainbow tail. I don't know if it has a rainbow tail, but it's supposed to be colorful. So this animal that people think is a mythological creature, it is actually not a mythological creature. There was only one created. And in Hebrew, unicorn is tachash. And tachash was used for the Mishkan. There was only one created. And it was used for the Mishkan. Another supernatural creature that people think is a lore or a fable or whatever you guys want to call it. But it's not. It's an actual creature. And it should still exist today. And that creature is the phoenix. The phoenix in Hebrew is called Of HaChol, the bird of the dust. Yes, mermaids are real too. 100%. Mermaids are real. So the phoenix, the story of the phoenix was that there was also one created. I'm not sure if it was one or if it was two created actually, because the phoenix was on Noah's Ark. And my husband sent me the link of the source of the phoenix. It is in Hebrew. I'll try to have it translated, but I'll put myself a reminder to add the link to the comments after I'm done with the video. It's also Zohar and Gemara. But that's the only animal on the ark that did not bother Noach for food. It waited patiently until Noach was done feeding all of the animals. And Noach realized this. And when it was time for all the animals to get off the boat, he told the phoenix, he told the Ofchol, due to your patience and your love for other animals, I am going to bless you to live forever. And it is written that the phoenix lives 1,000 years, goes up in flames, turns to ash, and from the ash, a baby phoenix gets reborn. Where is the phoenix partner? That's a good, I think it's located in the article that my husband sent me. So when I'm going to be done with the live, I'm going to locate the article and I'm going to post it on the comments. Hopefully there's an option for a Google Translate. So that's the actual story of the phoenix. So the phoenix is real. It existed. I was completely stoked when I heard this. There's actually a few lectures in Hebrew regarding the phoenix. I could send those as well. I was crying because that's one of the animals on earth that I intensely relate to. Another thing, another creature, werewolves and vampires. Dragons. Dragons Hashem did not create. Dragons were actually created in the time of Mitzrayim during the hot peak of black magic. Dinosaurs were considered Chayot HaGdolot, and it is in the Zohar of Bereshit. So werewolves and vampires, where do they come from? I posted a link, I think it was 2 years ago, of a rabbi giving a class regarding this specific topic. The first werewolf was Binyamin, because that was his sigil. When push comes to shove and there was time for some fighting action, that was his sigil. We could understand what happens forth. And I'm also going to put a note to find that class, and I'm going to bump it so you guys can listen to that too. It's not that long. It's fairly short. He also talks about the first vampire, which he claims was Esav. And how did he get to this conclusion? It's not that he got to this conclusion. He's learning the sources, whether if it's from the Zohar or whether if it's from the Gemara or whatever sources it was that they used. When Yaakov and Esav met, and Yaakov was fearing for his life, and it said that Esav kissed Yaakov, and Yaakov's neck turned into stone. Why would Yaakov's neck turn into stone if Esav wasn't going to bite him? If it was just a kiss, why would Yaakov's neck need to turn into stone? So this is where they get all these sources, and I thought it was pretty cool and pretty fascinating. Yep, all 12 tribes had superpowers. That's very true. Every one of them had their own specialty. I think my husband knows which tribe was it that with the sword they were able to split the bodies in half? Dan, right? Dan. Yeah. Yeah, the tribe of Dan was very talented and super powerful with a sword. They were able to take the sword and literally cut a person in half from here. Can a regular human being do that today? No. So yeah, that's very, very, very fascinating. All right, so let's see. Anybody have any other questions regarding mythical creatures? No? Okay. Okay. Torah stories on mermaids. I don't know if it's stories, but maybe Gemara or Zohar. But they're in Hebrew, it's called Bat Yam, the daughter of the ocean. And it explains that it's half human, half fish. Yeah, it's also called the siren. Gargoyles. That's very interesting. I think those are creatures that were created by magic. Remember, magic was very, very, very big back in the time of Pharaoh and Egypt and the three-headed dog. Those were created by magic. Okay, so Shoshana is asking, so they are the same, mermaids and sirens? Yep, they are the same. Why is she dangerous? Because she is jealous of humans. Was dragons and gargoyles created not by Hashem? Most likely by magic. Shoshana, will this be on our private YouTube or your public one? Good question. I have not decided on that yet. It might be unlisted, so whoever has the link can watch it, but I'm not sure if I'm going to publicize it yet. Okay, what can you suggest for parents who use secular books with non-kosher animals for kids? Can you elaborate, Goldie? Okay, do you think the mermaids being able to entice men with their voice have something to do with Kol Isha? That is a very interesting question. I'm not sure, but I'm going to write your question down and I'm going to make sure to give you an answer on this. Give me a second. Let me write it down. Okay. Okay. Why is she jealous of humans? She lives in her own world in the ocean. She's half human, half fish, doesn't have legs. You've seen the movie The Little Mermaid. All she ever wanted to do was be human. So there's a jealousy. Okay, so Miriam is asking, do you think politicians are also possessed, not only reincarnated? When it comes to evil on that scale, possession is not really a word to throw around very lightly. There's a difference between having massive energetic influence, also known as attachment, and being possessed. Very, very, very different. Do I feel like they have a massive tether to evil? Yes, I do. Do I feel like they have evil power within them? I do. And I also feel like they are pawns, just like everybody else, needing to do their job to be able to wake people up. Okay. So also asking why you're seeing more demons, etc. nowadays, like in the video I showed you. Okay. So with this specific question that you're asking, the lecture that I heard was from Rabbi Yitzhak Fanger. He was talking about demonic entities and aliens. So he explained in that class that demonic entities, when they are amongst us, they look similar but very different. They look very disoriented. They look very deformed. They look very creature-like, but in human form. Now, if they're not fully exposed and partial exposed, the human eye cannot pick up on it unless you're extremely gifted and could see behind the veil. Cameras, however, can pick up on it. Okay, let me try to catch up on some questions. Okay, Maggie, you asked, does she have a neshama like of humans? Can you clarify who you're referring to? But who are you referring to? Oh, okay. No, they don't have that. They cannot speak. Only Hashem's creations that are able to speak have the neshama spark. Ones that cannot speak have the nefesh and ruach. But I will also ask that question, and I will make sure to get back to you on that one. It's a very interesting question because it is half human and half fish. Okay. Let's see. What does the Torah say on bad seeds, aka evil people? They're pawns. They're here on earth for a specific mission. And that mission is to keep us in check. For us to be able to open our eyes and notice the evil and avoid it. They're just pawns. Miriam is asking, why can cameras pick up evil more than the naked eye? Let's ponder on that for a second. Can you imagine if every single human being walking the face of this planet can see what I see? Do you know how many people would go nuts? Do you know how much chaos there would be? Not everybody can handle it. Many people, even that are able to see, could barely handle it themselves. Sometimes they can go crazy. You know, it's not an easy thing to deal with. Did that answer your question? Okay, she's also asking, how will we be kept in check mega years post Mashiach? We won't need to be kept in check after Mashiach. Everything is going to be good. I did answer the question about the politicians. Unless I missed another question. Do you mind rewriting it and then I'll answer it again? Or answer it if I didn't answer it? I'm going to give her some time. Oh, that's okay. All right, Shoshana's asking, we will only have our godly souls after Mashiach comes, right? from what I understood when it comes to Tchiyat HaMeitim after Mashiach, those that get resurrected in the body that completed the most of the tikkun. Okay, so yeah, Miriam, I did answer your questions. You asked if politicians are possessed. That's one. I said that the word possession shouldn't be thrown around very lightly, because there's a big difference between having energetic influence or attachments and being possessed. They are tethered to evil. It's a very intense, extreme form of attachments. Now, before we wrap up, I wanted to touch up on another very interesting thing when it comes to the afterlife. I'm not going to go so much in depth, but remember how I mentioned in the beginning of the class that before we come down to earth, we see a video of our life, of what it's supposed to be, the choices that we're supposed to make. Right before we die, and I don't think this is something that I have to point out the source to, because this is something that many religions, many, categories, they talk about this. Right before a person dies, their life flashes before their eyes. And after he passes away and he goes up to Shamayim, he sees a video of his life, but he doesn't know that it's him. When this neshama sees the video of his own life, they ask him, what do you think about this person doing this mitzvah or doing this sin? The neshama doesn't realize, but they're judging themselves. Now, what's the best way to avoid judging ourselves harshly? By practicing to judge others favorably. When your neshama has a habit of kaf zchut, giving benefit of the doubt, judging favorably, it's like in the neshama's spiritual blood. When he goes upstairs and sees his life, he's going to do the same thing, because judging favorably is a part of him. There's also another aspect that Rabbanim talk about. The suffering in this world cleanses your neshama for olam haba. What does that mean? A person makes a sin, dies, goes upstairs, will get punished for the sin? Most likely. And this I'm bringing from Rabbi Zamir Cohen. This was from his lecture on reincarnation and the world of souls. He says, when a person suffers in this world, suffering is experiencing 1/60th of hell. So when we suffer, when we cry, when we have that deep pain, when we realize the suffering and we acknowledge and we thank Hashem for the lesson, and we say, may this pain be a kapara, may this pain help erase whatever sins I did. That realization and you going through that tiny experience of hell, it actually takes it off the list when you go upstairs. That's why Rabbanim say when you suffer, you cleanse your soul. You don't go through suffering, cleanse your soul, go upstairs, go through suffering again. Doesn't work that way. Can you imagine the pain of a human being when they're crying or when they're sad? Imagine that pain for a second. Or when they're happy. Let's do happiness. Happy, 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 happy. Let's do happiness. Try to feel the energy of happiness, of joy. It's an amazing euphoric feeling, right? Happiness and joy in the spiritual world is times 60 of that of the human emotion. All right, let me get to some questions. Hold on. Okay, Miriam is asking, is intuition a precept of having prophecy? An aspect of we are asking and connecting to God when listening to intuition. Tapping into intuition is tapping into the highest level of your neshama and aspects of your chaya nichida. Again, with this, there's levels. Prophecy is something very different than intuition. Everybody has intuition. Everybody has that gut feeling they should listen to, or that little thing on their shoulder that's telling them, don't do this, do this. Oh, no. This is dangerous for you. That's intuition. Prophecy is being able to see things ahead of time before they happen. It is written at the end of times that prophecy will return to the world. But who knows? All right. Oh, hold on. Hey. Okay. Let's see. Where else? Oh, this is a very good question that you're asking, Miriam. Why do people think that they see Jesus when they reach the next world or near-death experience, atheists including? Our Olam Haba is made up of how we live our life. And this applies to every single human being. So if non-Jews are living their life, with what's his face all the time, in front of them, that's what they're going to interact with when they go. If they do absolutely nothing with their lives are like pointless and meaningless, that's their afterlife as well. Same thing with Jews. It says in Pirkei Avot, everyone has a portion of the world to come. What creates our world to come? Our maasim, our deeds, the good and the bad. I hope that answers your question. Okay, so Miriam, you were asking, but there are various levels of suffering. Can you elaborate on that, please? Okay. So to answer that question, suffering is suffering. Every person takes suffering differently. Some of them don't even pay attention to suffering. They just brush it off their shoulders. Some of them take suffering as like a punishment, and some of them take it as an opportunity to grow. So she's also asking, can you cleanse yourself by seeing God's hand in suffering? Oh, yes. Yes, this is what the tzaddikim meant by when you suffer a lot in this world, you're cleansing your neshama. You're asking, how can the next world be meaningless? Like I mentioned before, those that feel or live their life that it's meaningless now, that's how it'll be for them when they go in the next world. They're going to see what they're going to miss out on, and they're going to feel extreme pain of, dang it, I should have lived my life properly. So it's not like the next world is meaningless for everybody. No, that's not what I said. What I said is how you live your life according to your deeds and misdeeds. That is how your olam haba, that is how your afterlife is going to be. Again, Miriam, you mentioned I can't picture next world is meaningless. To me, it's utopia, being with God. Listen, if you lived a godless life, okay, with absolutely no interest in fixing yourself, no interest in being a better person, just you live, you die, that's it, boom, kaput. Why would Hashem let you enjoy things other people worked so very hard for? He will show you what you're missing out on. But he had his whole life to fix it, and he chose not to. Does that make sense? Let's see, what time is it? Am I good on time? Nope, that's it. Okay. There's still a lot more I want to talk about, but maybe I'll do a part 2. Are you guys down for a part 2? Okay. All right, Miriam's asking, why would the next world, other side, connect with us in symbolism like in dreams? Because that's our way of understanding. Okay. Yael, question. People like my mother who went through massive traumas and was never spiritually aware. I would hope Hashem would forgive her and give her holy peace in the next world. When it comes to a person suffering trauma, this is also from Rabbi Zamir Cohen. When it comes to a person experiencing trauma and making bad choices, he stated that the Gemara covers the fact of it becomes a form of a mental illness. And with mental illness, neshamas don't get judged the same as those that had proper mental what's the word I'm looking for? Like mentally straight. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. But sanity, perfect. There we go. So there's a sane person and, the not sane person. Even with Ruach Shtut, Hashem doesn't, when Ruach Shtut, which is spirit of folly, enters a human being and a human being makes mistakes, Hashem can't blame the person in its entirety for the sin, because part of the sin is on the spirit of folly, is on the Ruach Shtut. So you understand? It's the same thing with suicides. Rabbi Zamir Cohen also covers this, real briefly with suicides because I have to wrap up. But people that have, a very deep, intense mental depression that they cannot get out of, they feel they have no escape, and they end their lives. He says it's a form of mental illness, and any situation that has a form of mental illness does not get judged at 100% capacity because mental illness comes to play. If you do something to risk your life, for example, bungee jumping or, skydiving, it's a high risk of something going wrong, right? And let's say you go skydiving, parachute doesn't open, you die, you're going to be charged with killing yourself. Same thing with addicts. Addict is, a mental illness, something that they can't, how does a person even start getting addicted? It's ruach shtut. It's the spirit of folly. We'll get more into this. I'm going to write this topic down. This is very interesting, and I'm going to do this as part 2. But yeah, I hope I managed to answer a lot of you guys' questions. I will be excited to do a part 2. Feel free to message me more questions so I can build up part 2. There's also stuff that I didn't manage to cover in this one that I want to cover in part 2. Did you guys enjoy in the meantime? Awesome. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I love you all. All right. Rena, will this be posted in the group to see the whole thing? Yep. It'll be posted in the group. I'm going to be uploading it to YouTube as well. In the meantime, when it comes to YouTube, it's going to be unlisted, so it's not going to be public. So if you get the YouTube link, you can share it out. But if I decide to make it just, I guess you could say jump the gun and make it public, then so be it. Whatever happens, happens. I just hope I don't get grilled. Because it's very hard to post my sources in English. Because like I said, I'm Israeli. I speak fluent Hebrew. I understand Hebrew fluently. So when I listen to classes, I absorb a lot of information. I'm a bookworm. Most of the time I write stuff down. Sometimes I don't. But I tell you the names of everyone that I listen to and which class and which rabbis. And in their classes, they point out all the sources where they get their information from. It's hard for me to pause and write down because they talk very fast. But yeah, anyways, I try. Thank you all very much for tuning in. I appreciate you all. Yes, I will also be posting the YouTube link as soon as I can put it up on YouTube. You guys were awesome. Thank you for the love.